I never believed in love at first sight. Hell, I barely believed in love at all after the string of boardroom betrayals and empty penthouse nights that defined my 30s. But there he was, huddled against the cold marble facade of my Manhattan office building, his threadbare coat pulled tight around a frame that screamed fragility, eyes like shattered glass reflecting the neon chaos of Fifth Avenue. "Hey, miss," I called out, my voice cutting through the holiday bustle like a bad investment pitch. "You can't stay here. It's freezing. Come inside. I've got coffee and a phone to call someone who can help." He lifted his head slowly, and in that instant, the world tilted. Not a woman at all, but a man, beautiful in a way that punched the air from my lungs, his lips parting in a mix of defiance and desperation that would haunt me for years. His name was Nathaniel, he whispered later, as I draped my wool overcoat over his shoulders in the lobby, the security guards exchanging glances that felt like accusations already. I told myself it was pity, corporate social responsibility, Adam Hargrove, tech mogul, saving the day for a homeless kid who looked like he'd been chewed up by the city and spat out raw. But as we rode the elevator to my corner office on the 52nd floor, his hand brushed mine, electric and unintended. And I knew this wasn't charity. This was the start of something that would unravel me thread by thread. The city lights blurred into streaks of gold and crimson below us, the Empire State Building piercing the dusk like a needle in my heart. Nathaniel sank into the leather armchair across from my desk, clutching the steaming mug I'd thrust into his hands, his fingers trembling not just from the cold. "Why are you doing this?" he asked, voice rough as gravel, but laced with an undercurrent of Midwestern warmth that made my chest ache. "Kansas, maybe, or Nebraska, the kind of place where people still said ma'am without irony." I leaned back, forcing a smile that felt like glass. "Because it's Christmas Eve, and even Scrooge has limits." "What's your story, Nathaniel? How does someone end up like this?" He laughed, a bitter sound that echoed off the floor-to-ceiling windows, and set the mug down with a clink that seemed to punctuate the lie he was about to tell. "Long story. Bad luck. Worst choices. Grew up in a nowhere town outside Omaha. Parents who thought love was a four-letter word unless it came with a white picket fence and a Bible verse." His eyes flicked to mine, holding just a beat too long, and I felt it, the pull, magnetic and forbidden, the kind of glance that gets men like me disinvited from family Thanksgivings. I was Adam Hargrove, founder of Hargrove Innovations, the app that turned Wall Street whispers into billion-dollar empires. Divorced at 28 from a socialite who preferred caviar to conversation. Gay in a world that tolerated it only if you kept it in the closet with the skeletons. And now, this stranger, with his unkempt blonde curls framing a face that could launch 1,000 therapy sessions, was cracking open doors I'd bolted shut years ago. We talked for hours, the city below us transforming from frenzy to fairy lights as snow began to dust the streets. He spun a tale of escape, high school valedictorian turned college dropout, chasing dreams in the Big Apple only to crash into student debt and a string of dead-end gigs. "I thought New York would fix me," he said, staring at his reflection in the dark window. "But it just broke me cheaper." I nodded, pouring scotch from the crystal decanter, neat for me, ginger ale for him, and shared fragments of my own armor. The father who built railroads and expected sons to lay tracks, not code apps. The mother who hosted galas but never asked why her boy preferred books to balls. It felt easy, dangerously so, like we'd been orbiting each other for lifetimes. By midnight, when the office hummed with the silence of departed staff, I offered him the guest suite in my Upper East Side brownstone. "Just for tonight," I said. "Tomorrow, we'll figure out shelters, job leads, whatever it takes." His hesitation was a living thing, coiling between us like smoke. You don't know me. Adam. What if I'm the wolf in sheep's clothing? I chuckled, but his words lodged in my throat, prophetic in ways neither of us could foresee. As we stepped into the elevator, his shoulder brushed mine, and the air thickened with unspoken what-ifs. That night, in the cab ride home, with the snowflakes melting on the windshield like unshed tears, I stole glances at him, Nathaniel, with his quiet strength cracking through the exhaustion, and wondered if this was madness or mercy. Little did I know, it was both, wrapped in a secret that would detonate like a market crash, leaving us both in ruins. The brownstones smelled of pine and possibility when we arrived. My housekeeper's holiday wreathed a splash of red against the grayscale of my life. I showed Nathaniel to the guest room, Egyptian cotton sheets, a bathroom bigger than his last apartment, and watched as he traced the marble countertop with fingers that bore the faint scars of hard labor. This is too much, he murmured, but his eyes betrayed hunger, not just for the luxury, but for the illusion of safety. I waved it off, retreating to my study with a bottle of bourbon and a laptop that suddenly felt like an intruder. Sleep evaded me, the walls whispering accusations. What are you doing? Adam, he's half your age. A ghost in your machine. But dawn crept in with coffee aromas. And there he was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, attempting pancakes from my neglected pantry, burnt edges and all. We ate on the terrace, the city waking to a blanket of white. And for the first time in years, breakfast wasn't a solo ritual with the Wall Street Journal. Nathaniel's laugh came freer now, stories tumbling out like confetti. The time he'd busky guitar on Bleecker Street for rent money. The drag show he'd stumbled into where queens taught him resilience in sequence. Drag, the word hung there, innocent at first, but it stirred something in me, a flicker of the underground clubs I'd frequented in college, before the suits and shareholders demanded perfection. You ever perform? I asked, casual as cream in coffee. His cheeks flushed, a rare vulnerability. Once or twice. Helps pay bills when you're versatile. The word lingered, loaded, and our eyes met again, that electric bridge, and I felt the ground shift. By noon, I cleared my schedule, dragging him to Bergdorf's under the guise of essentials. He protested, of course, that Midwestern pride flaring like a flare gun. But I insisted, wool coat, boots that didn't leak, jeans that fit without apology. In the dressing room, catching a glimpse of him shirtless, lean muscles etched by survival. A tattoo of a compass rose on his ribs, pointing nowhere. I had to step out, heart hammering like a glitch in my code. This wasn't lust, it was longing, raw and renaissance, the kind poets die for. Back at the office that afternoon, I set him up in a conference room with my HR team, resumed coaching, interview prep, while I buried myself in emails, pretending the man across the hall wasn't rewriting my algorithms. But cracks formed early. A call from my sister, Elise, the family enforcer. Dad's gala is Friday. Bring a date. Adam, someone presentable. And what's this about a stray you're housing? PR nightmare waiting to happen. I bristled, assuring her it was temporary, but Nathaniel overheard from the doorway, his face paling like he'd been slapped. Stray, he echoed later, over takeout tie in the office, voice edged with ice. Is that what I am? Your holiday project? I reached for his hand, mistake. Monumental, and he pulled back, not in revulsion, but revelation. I'm not here to be saved, Adam, or pitted. I have my reasons for being on the street, and they're mine to carry. That night, as we walked Central Park under strings of lights, snow crunching like confessions underfoot, he cracked open a sliver, a lover, years back in Omaha, who promised forever, then vanished with his trust fund savings. stole his identity, left him penniless and paranoid. Love's a con, Nathaniel said, breath fogging the air. The ultimate Ponzi scheme. I wanted to argue, to pull him close and prove him wrong. But the words stuck, tangled in my own ghosts. The ex-husband who'd outed me to the tabloids for leverage in our divorce, turning my coming out into collateral damage. Instead, I share that scar, the raw edge of it, and for a moment, under the Bethesda fountain, our gloved hands intertwined, the world narrowing to the beat of possibility. It was the first lie that should have warned me, but hope is a blindfold we tie ourselves. The next morning, my assistant buzzed, a package for Nathaniel, unmarked but urgent. He tore it open in the lobby, face draining of color, a stack of photos, grainy shots of him in that Omaha life, laughing with the ex, arm slung casual over shoulders that now symbolize betrayal. Tucked inside, a note, I know where you are. Pay up or everyone does. Extortion, vintage and vicious. Old ghosts, he muttered, crumpling it, but his eyes screamed terror. I pressed, gently at first, then with the full force of a man who'd built firewalls against worse. Let me help. Lawyers, security, whatever it takes. He shook his head, fierce as a cornered fox. This is my mess. Adam, you get involved. It stains you too. Stubborn. Beautiful fool. I hired a PI anyway. Discreet channels through a firm that owed me favors from a merger gone sideways. By evening, reports trickled in. Nathaniel Hale, 26. No priors, but a civil suit from 3 years back. Fraud allegations against his ex. Dismissed for lack of evidence. But whispers of deeper entanglements. Underground fight ring? No. Something seedier. The ex had been running a Ponzi scheme disguised as a queer youth nonprofit, using Nathaniel as the pretty face to lure donors. Innocent, the PI concluded, but the optics? Toxic. I deleted the file. Heart-pounding, vowing silence. But secrets are solvents. They eat through trust like acid. The gala loomed like a guillotine. Elisa's text a barrage. Dad's health is failing. Don't embarrass us. I asked Nathaniel to come. Not as arm candy, but ally. A buffer against the silver spoon vultures. He agreed, eyes wary but warming. And in my tailor's shop that week, watching him try on a tux that hugged him like a second skin, I nearly confessed everything. The pull, the fear, the way his laugh rewired my solitude. Instead, I joked about bow ties, and he rolled his eyes, that Midwestern drawl teasing. Fancy. Hargrove. Next you'll have me reciting stock quotes. The tailor left us alone, and in the mirror's reflection, our gazes locked, charged, inevitable. Thank you, he said softly, for seeing me. Not the street version. I swallowed hard. I see all of you, Nate. And I like what I see. Gala night arrived in a swirl of limos and lies. The plaza's ballroom glittered like fool's gold, chandeliers dripping light over gowns and grudges. Nathaniel at my side, transformed, hair tamed, smile sharp, Drew stares, whispers rippling. Who's the twink? Hargrove's latest toy? Elise cornered us early, martini in hand, her Botox smile not reaching eyes that dissected. Charming, she purred to him, but darling, Adam's particular about his. Arrangements. Nathaniel's jaw tightened, but he played along, charming her with tales of Nebraska's sunsets until she thawed, if only a degree. My father, gaunt in his wheelchair, gripped my arm later. Son, ambition's fine, but don't let whimsy derail the empire. Whimsy. If only he knew the empire was crumbling from within. My focus fractured by blue eyes across crowded rooms. We danced, scandalous in itself. Two men swaying to Fly Me to the Moon, amid heterodoxy, and for 3 minutes. It was utopia, his hand on my waist, breath warm on my neck, the world fading to strings and syncopated heartbeats. "This feels dangerous," he murmured, lips brushing my ear. "Good dangerous," I replied, spinning him out, then close. Our laughter a rebellion. But danger doesn't dance alone. Midway through, my phone vibrated. The PI, urgent. Found the ex. He's in town. And he's not alone. Got Hargrove dirt. Blackmail play. My blood iced. Dirt? On me? The ex-husband's old leaks. Perhaps. Or worse, my quiet donations to queer causes. The ones that could spook conservative investors. I slipped away to the balcony, dialing the PI for details, when Nathaniel appeared, concern etching his features. "Everything okay?" Before I could answer, a shadow detached from the pillars, a man, slick-haired and smirking, extending a hand. "Nate, baby." "Missed me?" The ex-Victor. The report named him, lean as a switchblade, eyes gleaming with malice. Nathaniel froze, color fleeing his face. And in that heartbeat, I saw it, the depth of the wound. The love turned venom. "Get out," Nathaniel hissed. But Victor laughed, low and lethal. "Can't. Not till you pay what you owe for the life you ruined." Lies? I knew. But the accusation landed like a grenade, shattering the fragile peace. What followed was chaos in couture. Victor spilling half-truths to Elise, who overheard and pounced like a hawk. Investors murmuring about Hargrove's risky associations. My father summoning me with a glare that could curdle cream. Nathaniel vanished into the crowd. Tux rumpled, eyes wild. I found him in the coat room, shoulders shaking. "I told you," he choked. "My mess. Now it's yours." I pulled him close, damned the optics, and whispered, "We're in this together. Tell me everything." He did, in fragments. Victor's scheme, how Nathaniel discovered it too late, testified anonymously to avoid the spotlight, only for Victor to frame him as complicit, tanking his credit, his job, his will to fight. "I ran to New York to disappear," he confessed. "But he found me. Through you, betrayal burned triple-fold. Victor's, for the ghost he wielded like a weapon, the system's, for letting predators prowl free, and mine, for the PI's intrusion, the file I'd hidden but couldn't unsee. I looked into you," I admitted, voice cracking, "to protect us. But I should have trusted." His face crumpled, hurt, profound and personal. "Trust? That's the one thing I had left for you. Adam. Now it's poisoned." He shrugged off my touch, storming into the night, snow swallowing him whole. I chased, lungs burning, but he was gone, a phantom in the flurry. Back inside, the gala ground on, toast to fortunes I no longer craved. Elise cornered me. "Clean this up, Adam, or Dad's will get to rewrite. Father's empire. My inheritance, poison pills all." Days blurred into a blizzard of damage control. Victor's demands escalated. $500,000 wired anonymously. Or exposés to the press. Nathaniel's crimes, my indiscretions. I paid, not for silence, but time. Wiring from an offshore account, while lawyering up with a firm specializing in queer rights. But Nathaniel vanished. Calls unanswered. The brownstone empty of his faint cologne. I scoured shelters. Pounded pavement from the Bowery to Brooklyn. My Ferrari traded for Ubers in a pathetic bid at humility. Sleepless. I'd replay our dance. His laugh. The compass tattoo I'd traced in dreams. North always pointing away. The breakdown came mid-January. In a Times Square dive bar. Nursing whiskey with a stranger who looked too much like him. "You loved him," the bartender said, sliding a napkin. Loved. Past tense. Like a merger failed. I nodded, tears hot and unbidden. The weight of it crashing, not just loss, but the mirror it held, my life. A fortress of firewalls hiding a man, starved for touch. That's when the email hit. Anonymous. Victor's watermark faint in the metadata. He's mine again. Thanks for the cash. Lover boy. Attached a photo. Nathaniel bound to a chair in some nondescript warehouse. Gag biting into his mouth. Eyes defiant but dimmed. Rage, pure and primal. Surged, not the boardroom kind, but the fathers, the lovers, the survivors. I'm mobilized like never before. PI's network, private security, even a favor from a senator who'd owed me since a campaign app. Tracked Victor to a derelict loft in Red Hook, the kind of place Brooklyn forgot. Stormed it at dawn, heart and throat, backed by XSLS who moved like shadows. There he was, Nathaniel, bruised but unbroken, wrists raw from zip ties. Victor, cornered, spat venom. He'll always run back. That's his pattern, weak. I decked him, knuckles splitting on jawbone. The SEALs hauling him out as sirens wailed. Nathaniel collapsed into me, sobs racking his frame, and in that fetid space, amid peeling paint and regret, I held him. I'm sorry, I whispered, over and over, a litany against the dark. For the digging, the doubting. I love you. God, I love you. He pulled back, searching my face, the compass on his ribs rising with ragged breaths. Love? After all this? His voice broke, raw as the city dawn filtering through cracks. You saw the worst of me, the fraud whispers, the running, and you still. I nodded, fierce, because it's not the worst. The worst is living without you. We clung there, two men forged in fire, until paramedics pried us apart. Whisking him to Bellevue for checks I insisted on. Victor? Indicted that week, fraud, extortion, a rap sheet longer than my regrets. The press spun it as tech titan foil scam, but the queer rags hailed it quieter, resilience, not rescue. Recovery was a slow thaw. Nathaniel stayed at the brownstone. Therapy sessions booked back to back, mine too, unpacking the closets I'd built. Elise visited once, stiff as starch, but left with a tentative hug for him. Hargrove stubbornness runs deep. Good luck. Father passed in February. Will intact. His last words are gruff. Take care of your own. Son, I did. Stepping down as CEO for CO, funneling profits into a foundation for queer youth, Nathaniel's vision. A nonprofit sans the scams. Teaching code and courage. Spring bloomed hesitant. Cherry blossoms dusting the park where we'd first cracked open. One evening, rooftop terrace aglow with lanterns. I dropped to one knee, not with a ring, but a key to the brownstone, to us. No empires, no escapes, I said, voice steady for once. Just this. He took it, tears tracing paths I'd memorize, and pulled me up, lips meeting mine in a kiss that tasted of forgiveness, soft, seismic, sealing. Together, he murmured against my mouth, north and always. We built from there, lazy Sundays with pancakes unburnt. Board meetings where his input outshone mine. Nights tangled in sheets that whispered futures. Controversies lingered, tabloid jabs at the odd couple, investor jitters over my distractions, but we faced them shoulder to shoulder. Misunderstandings forged into manifestos. Love, it turned out, wasn't a scheme, but a scaffold, sturdy against storms, high enough to see horizons. Years on, with the foundation thriving and an adopted kid from the program calling us dads. I look back at that snowy eve, the hook, the heartbreak, and smile. Changed everything? Understatement. It saved us both. turning strangers into story, one defiant heartbeat at a time. The brownstone's warmth couldn't chase the chill of that unspoken fracture, but we pretended, layering normalcy like insulation. Mornings became ritual. I'd brew coffee strong as my resolve. Nathaniel sketching logos for the foundation on napkins. His artists I turning chaos into clarity. This one's for the coding camps, he'd say, charcoal smudges on his fingers. Safe spaces for kids like I wasn't. I'd watch him, mesmerized by the quiet fire, the way survival had honed him sharper than any Ivy League polish. Yet shadows lingered, Victor's silence a ticking bomb, my PI's reports stacking like unpaid invoices. Elise's meddling escalated, her concern calls laced with subtext. Dad's legacy isn't a halfway house. Adam, I fired back once. Voice steel, legacy's people, not portfolios, but doubt crept in, insidious as damp. Late one night, scrolling investor decks, I stumbled on a leaked email, Victor's handiwork. No doubt, hinting at Nathaniel's questionable past, tainting Hargrove stock. Shares dipped 2%, a blip to most, but to me, a harbinger. I confronted him over dawn yoga on the terrace. Poses abandoned for honesty. We need to go public, I said. Your story, mine, own it before they twist it. His laugh was hollow, echoing off the Hudson. Public? You mean parade me as the redeemed stray? No, Adam. I've been the villain enough. The word stray again. A bar from Elise's arsenal he'd overheard. We argued, voices rising like steam, me pushing transparency as armor, him clinging to privacy as shield. You don't get it, he snapped, eyes flashing. In Omaha, coming out mint church sermons on hellfire. Here, it's boardrooms on optics. Either way, I'm the punchline. I reached for him, apology on lips, but he sidestepped, retreating to the guest room that felt less like sanctuary and more like exile. The rift widened, misunderstandings multiplying like market rumors. I'd cancel dinners for crisis calls, blaming deadlines. He'd withdraw into freelance gigs, ghosting texts with busy. One evening, returning from a VC pitch, I found the kitchen empty. A note, out with friends. Don't wait. Friends? In a city that had chewed him raw, paranoia bloomed. Victor's photo stunt replaying. The bound wrists a nightmare loop. I paced, bourbon burning judgment, until my phone lit. A bar tab at Stonewall. Time-stamped midnight. Stonewall, the cradle of rebellion. Now a haunt for the haunted. I bolted there, weaving through pride flags and pulsing bass. Spotting him at the bar, Nathaniel, laughing with a circle of drag kings. His ease a knife twist. Jealousy surged, irrational and acidic, not of the attention, but the freedom he claimed without me. Having fun, I asked, sliding onto a stool, tone sharper than intended. His smile faltered, the group dispersing like smoke, just blowing off steam. You should try it, loosen that tie. We stumbled into the alley after, air thick with rain scent, words tumbling accusatory. You think I'm hiding you? He demanded. Or that you're ashamed? I denied it, vehement. But the seed was sown, my world, a gilded cage, his, a wild unknown. Reconciliation came fragile, over greasy diner eggs at 3 a.m. I was scared, I admitted, fork-scraping plate, of losing you to this city's grind. He softened, hand over mine. Then fight for us, not against shadows. We returned home dawn-dazed, collapsing in a bed, not lovers yet, but allies, bodies curled like question marks. The gala invitation arrived that week, gold embossed poison, and against better judgment, we RSVP'd. Armor up, together. The week blurred into prep, tailors, etiquette crash courses, Nathaniel practicing small talk like lines from a script he despised. Smile and nod. I coached. But his retort stung true. I'm not your prop. Adam, we teetered on that edge. Affection a tightrope over abyss. Midweek, a breakthrough, therapy, joint sessions where DR. Leon unpacked our baggage, my control as trauma's twin, his flight as survival's echo. Vulnerability isn't weakness, she said, and for once, I listened, sharing the divorce's fallout, ex's outing not just public but personal, painting me as predator in pixels. Nathaniel reciprocated, deeper dives into Victor's web, not mere theft, but gaslighting, convincing him their love was complicit in the fraud until the feds knocked. He made me doubt my own north, he confessed, tracing that tattoo. I kissed his knuckles then, first real touch since the dance we'd yet to have, a promise sealed in tears. Hope flickered, fragile as first light. Gala night hit like a freight train. Limo ride tense, his knee bouncing against mine. City lights, strobing anxieties. At the plaza, we stepped into a viper's nest, crystal clinking like judgments, air heavy with Chanel and chauvinism. Elise greeted with air kisses, eyes raking Nathaniel. You clean up well. Remember, darling, less is more. He bit back retorts, charming instead, but I saw the toll, his smile a mask cracking at edges. Father wheeled in mid-evening, entourage parting like Red Sea, his gaze appraising. Son, he rasped, introduce your companion. Nathaniel extended a hand. Steady, pleasure, sir. Adam speaks highly of your vision. Father grunted approval, but later pulled me aside. He's got fire. But fire burns empires if unchecked. Patriarchal prophecy, or prejudice. I defended, heated, storming off to fetch drinks. That's when Victor slithered in, uninvited, audacious, champagne flute in claw. He cornered Nathaniel by the eye sculptures, words inaudible but venomous, body language a siege. I intervened, arm around Nathaniel's waist possessive. Problem, Victor smirked, eyes raking me. Just catching up with my ex. You Hargroves always did like sloppy seconds. The slur landed, crowd murmuring, Elise materializing like a specter. Ex? Adam. Explain. Chaos cascaded. Victor dropping bombshells. Fabricated texts implicating Nathaniel in the scam. My lavish support as hush money. Phones whipped out. Flashes popping like gunfire. Nathaniel shattered first, shoving Victor. Tux askew. Liar. You frame me. Security swarmed. But damage bloomed. Whispers to shouts. Investors fleeing like rats. Father summoned. Face ashen. End this farce. Adam. Now. I refused, towing Nathaniel to the foyer. But he wrenched free. See? Your world devours mine. He fled into the storm. Coat forgotten. Leaving me adrift in opulence turned ordeal. Hours of hell, Elise's ultimatums. Father's collapse from stress, paramedics. Ambulance wail. Victor vanished, but his poison lingered. Stocks plummeting pre-market. I hunted Nathaniel through snow-slick streets. Calls to voicemail voids. Dawn found me at the brownstone. Note on pillow. Can't drag you down. Forgive me. In forgiving, I'd burn cities for him. The photo arrived noon. Victor's taunt, Nathaniel. Captive, plea in eyes. Mobilization was fury incarnate. PI's grid. Hacker friends breaching Victor's trails. Cops looped via senator strings. Red Hook raid. Door splintered. Victor ranting mania as SEALs cuffed him. Nathaniel unbound. Leaping into arms. Our embrace a dam against despair. You came, he gasped. Always, I vowed. Hospital vigil. Bruises blooming. But spirit unbroken. Victor confessed under lights. full scheme. My payment the catalyst for his endgame. Charges stacked. Kidnapping a top fraud. Nathaniel healed slow. Scars inward. Trust a tattered map. Spring's thaw mirrored ours slow. Stubborn. Soaked in rain. Nathaniel discharged. We retreated to the brownstone. World on pause. Days dissolved into care. Ice packs. Story time with audiobooks. My laptop exiled to drawers. No more empires tonight, I'd say, curling beside him, fingers interlacing like lifelines. He healed physical first, then psyche, therapy marathons unpacking Victor's chains. My overreach recast as love's clumsy shield. You dug because you cared, he conceded one twilight. Sunset painting us terracotta. But next time, ask. I learned that lesson raw, vulnerability voluntary, not extracted. Step back from CEO throne. COO helm steadying the ship while I co-piloted the foundation. Nathaniel Dovin, passion propelling programs, coding boot camps in shelters, mentorships for outcasts. North for the lost, he named it. Compass tattoo inked on letterhead. Controversies simmered. Headlines dubbing us scandal survivors. Investors balking at woke pivots. Elise mediated, thawing to tentative ally. You're idiots, but happy ones. Father's estate settled equitable. His codicil a surprise. Bequest to the foundation. Note reading billed better than I did. Summer bloomed bold. Hampton's weekends. No galas. Just bonfires and bare feet. Our first real date. Rowboat on the pond. Picnic of PB and JS evoking his Nebraska roots. Laughter flowed freer. Touches tentative then bold. Kisses under stars. Hands exploring maps of memory. I love you, I said first. Words weighted like vows. He echoed. I stars. Love you more. Intimacy unfolded natural. Not rushed. Nights of whispers and wonders. Bodies learning rhythms beyond rush. Fall brought trials. Victor's trial. Testimonies tearing old wounds. Nathaniel took the stand. Voice steady. He stole my trust. Not my soul. Verdict, 20 years. Justice a quiet thunder. Media frenzy followed. But we spun it positive. Op-eds on queer resilience. Foundation funding surging. Misunderstandings? Lingered in echoes. My control flares. His withdrawal ticks, but we map them. Therapy our compass. Winter circled back. Anniversary marked on that snowy eve. Rooftop. Lanterns aglow. Hudson whispering below. Key and palm. I knelt. Partners. Equals forever. Tears. Yes. Ring later, but this first. You pull me up. Kiss deepening promise. Years layered like city strata. Adoption of Jamie. 12. A queer kid from the program. Foster failures, forging family. Mornings chaotic with cereal spills. Evening stories shared. Foundation global now. Empires rebuilt humane. Looking back, that hook, mistaken stranger. Electric touch, ignited revolution. Changed everything. It remade us, from solitary codes to shared stories. Love not scheme, but salvation. In the end, humanistic holds, flawed men. Fierce love, finding north together. And in America's vast, vexed heart, that's revolution enough.